Every time I hear that song, I associate it with Nigel Williamson of Nigel's Animal Rescue. It's become your theme, Nigel.
Thank you very much, Phil, and good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Nigel. Good to see you again, and I know you've been out on the job tonight.
Oh, I'm always out on jobs at night time. Just before we go into the animals, I've brought a few things in for you, Phil.
Okay.
As you know, I've just come back from being over in Europe, and I know how much that you like the trains. And I did promise you, I've got a couple of DVDs here on the Volks Electric Railway, which opened up in 1883. It is the world's oldest still operating electric train.
Is that the one near Brighton?
That's right, just outside of London.
Oh, fantastic.
So I was privileged enough with Tanya to go onto the train, and we travelled along it, and I was thinking of you for the whole time.
Look
so
the old toast rack there, isn't it?
It's got a German name, so it must have been German design.
And it still runs,
and it still runs to this day.
I have to ride that sometime.
You will.
One good turn deserves another. I have your birthday present at home.
Oh, thank you very much.
Unopened, waiting for you.
Right, I've got a couple of other little things for you. This one's travelled all over the world. Sorry about the box, it's falling apart. But we've got a whistle that was made with... It's a whistle from the Titanic. But this whistle...
Abandoned ship.
This whistle has been made with the original tooling from the whistles that were produced for the Titanic. So it is an original, authentic Titanic whistle.
That'll be from Harland and Wolff in Belfast.
Yeah, no, made in England, actually.
Yeah, well... Belfast. Part of Britain.
Well, it is.
You know,
and there's just a little plaque on the Titanic, because I know how much you love your Titanic.
Oh, yeah, that's for my fridge. Thank you very much. How kind of you.
Is there anything for me, Nigel?
Well, yes, actually, here you go, Mike. You can have a look at these two little guys I've got. I've got a little basket in front of me here, and in the basket we've got two baby ravens. Now, with all the winds that we've had in the last couple of days, a tree branch has broken off a tree, and the nest had fallen out of the tree, and down came the two baby ravens. I received a call today, so they've come down uninjured. I don't know how that happened, but they did. And I've got
unable
them in the
to
basket.
fly?
Oh, no, not at this age. They've only just starting to get the feathers out of their quills, so they've probably got at least another 4 to 5 weeks before they're going to be up and flying.
Aren't they beautiful?
So these guys are going to go to a wildlife shelter now, and they'll be hand-raised until they're old enough to
So
be
they'll
released.
bottle or tube drip feed them?
No, you just get ox heart mixed with a bit of shell grit and water, and when they become hungry, they open up their beaks and they just gulp it down.
And they'll get their strength back, and they'll be fine.
Yep,
Wow.
they'll be fine. That we've got to them.
Their mother will be very distressed, won't she? She'll be looking for them.
Well, she certainly will be. It is a natural occurrence that happens, unfortunately. The nature can be very cruel to itself, but the best chance of survival, because we're not able to get the nest back up into the tree, so the best thing is for these guys to go into care, because spring has sprung really early this year with the birds, as the magpies is what I want to talk about tonight.
A lot of people, of course, mistake these for crows, don't they?
They do. Everybody tells me I've got crows in my yard, or a baby crow. Well,
I don't think we have crows here, do we?
Not down in Victoria. We've got what we call the Australian raven.
Yes.
But everybody calls them crows.
The same ravens they have at the Tower of London.
Very much the same. So
And they might be small, Nigel, but they've got big beaks, haven't they?
they have. It's amazing how big the heads on them are. Their head's almost the size of an adult head. Now, these guys would fit in the palm of my hand. One's a little bit bigger than the other. Doesn't make very good radio when you can't show them, does it?
Well, you can. We've got cameras here for people on the internet. So that camera up there, please, if you will.
There you go, for those that are watching. And I do have some Facebook friends that are watching from overseas tonight. And as they knew that I was on through my Facebook today.
Now, I thought you were going to bring in your television mate tonight.
Right, no. Next week we might have him in when we're in on Thursday.
All right.
But what I want to talk about tonight was magpies, as people are starting to be swooped by them. And that becomes a problem every year. And this year it's a little bit earlier than normal. But I just want to tell people what you can do to stop the birds from actually physically making contact with you. As the best thing to do is very easy. That is to point your arm towards the bird and look at the bird at all times. Whenever the bird flies around, if you've got your arm stretched out away from your body, that bird may swoop you but won't make contact. and they've never hit me whenever I've done that, but as soon as I drop my arm, that's when they'll get you in the back of the head. So if you're in an area where you're being swooped by a magpie, point at the bird and walk away out of the area, because the birds have a very, very particular area from point A to point B, a swoop zone, where they will come down. The question that a lot of people don't understand with magpies and swooping, less than 3% of magpies actually swoop. If all magpies swooped and it was in their normal natural behaviour to do that, nobody could walk the streets of Australia at this time of the year.
And what is the behaviour? What are they doing?
Right, well, they are protecting their young, but the magpie that does swoop people has been interfered with by humans in the past.
Right.
Now, that can be something as simple as trying to rescue a baby magpie that's fallen out of the tree that's on the ground. He's out of the nest too early, so the natural thing that we do is we go and pick them up. Well, unfortunately, that is wrong, because as soon as you do that, the adult birds see you interfering with their young. They have to start protecting their young, so they'll start swooping you to try to get you out of the way.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a child that does that, that magpie will then target children for the rest of its life, as magpies will target individual people in a crowd. And so what we've got to do to rescue baby magpies, if people do find them out on the ground in the middle of the day, is to put a big blanket over your head, carry a box in your arm or a washing basket, and walk up to the magpie that way, and under the blanket, pick it up. But the better way to do it is to wait until the adult birds have flown off into a backyard to go and gather some food, and they're not in the area, and to pick up that baby magpie then, and then call, there's several different numbers you can ring, Help for Wildlife, you can ring myself, Wildlife Victoria, different organisations that will then hand raise the babies and look after them and raise and.
Okay, is it true you can prevent a magpie swooping on you by wearing a helmet with an eye painted on the helmet?
I have tried that many a time. Yes, that will work for some birds, but it won't work in all cases.
Uh-huh.
It's the same with the cable ties that the cyclists use.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will work, but more often than not, they will still come down and get you.
Where I live, we get those gull type things. Are they terns? They lay their eggs.
The spur-wing plovers.
And they
the
don't
lapwings.
like anyone being anywhere near. They lay their eggs on the sand.
That's exactly right, yes.
And you know, I've seen people destroy the eggs. I think I might have told you this once before. And it's really upsetting.
It is.
All you've got to do is just stay away from them.
Well, that's
all
right.
you have to do.
Absolutely. That is
They
another
are
problem.
fast.
They are very fast. That is another problem that I'm dealing a lot with when they've laid their eggs at kindergartens and school ovals, and the kids can't go out because they're being swooped. I'm licensed through the DSC to be able to go in and remove the eggs. They then get put into an incubator, they get hatched, and they get hand raised. But once again, pointing at the bird, like you do with the magpie, will stop the physical impact, but very rarely do the plovers actually make contact with you. They will come very, very close, within about 2 feet of your head, coming in at 60 kilometres an hour, and they'll just turn off at the last minute.
And they nest on the ground, don't they?
They do nest on the ground and also on flat roofs, but I think the plovers are very, very intelligent birds, because when you go near their nest, quite often the adult birds will drop a wing onto the ground, pretend that they're injured, and they'll run along with a wing dragging on the ground. This is probably more for dogs and foxes and cats, to draw you away from where their nest is or where their chicks are on the ground. When there are a threat to the plovers and the babies have hatched already, the adult birds will tell them to sit on the ground, don't move until we return. And they will stay there on the ground, absolutely motionless, for half an hour or even longer, until that threat has cleared out of the area and the parents think it's safe enough. So they're extremely intelligent.
It's amazing. Now, Lynn has a magpie story for you, Nigel. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, yes, well I have. I'm about the only one in my street that doesn't get charged by them or swooped, because my husband trained them actually. And of course every year they breed and there's more and more and more, and they bring the rest of the gang back and all the relations. And, have them, their top side, their mince top side and all that sort of stuff that we give them. And, they're like little old men. They roll up and you know, like today I went out the front and, you know, some waddled over, you know, complaining because the water dish was empty and all that sort of stuff, and filled it up, and someone else was walking down the street and looked at them like they were going to swoop, but no, not me.
That's right. It's so
funny.
It's amazing how magpies will actually train people to feed them on demand. They will tap on the windows, and
they do that.
They'll get very used to repetition with people.
Oh yeah, well they've actually come over the years. They've come up on the veranda and they've nearly walked in the front door.
I think you've got them for life somehow, Lynn.
Oh yes, I know. Well, I can't get rid of them now.
Oh, you wouldn't want to.
No,
that's a lovely story.
Yep.
Thanks, Lynn, for that. We'll take a break, Nigel and Mike, and come right back in a moment. Nigel Williamson, Nigel's Animal Rescue. Give us a couple of contact numbers for people who want to reach you, please.
Right, the best number to contact me is my mobile on 0427 533 083. It is a handy number to have in your phone for when you're driving down that country road somewhere and you see the kangaroo or the wombat hit by a car, or you find an injured animal somewhere, as I do network throughout the whole state, and we can find somebody that's in the local area to be able to come out and help that animal.
Should keep that number in your glove box for future reference.
Absolutely.
0427 533 083.
Now, tell us, you're just back from Europe, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I was very lucky to go over there. I went to see Simon Cowell at Wildlife Aid down in Leatherhead in Surrey in England.
He's the guy with the TV series.
Yes, he is. He came out to Australia back in 2009 to do some filming for his TV show, and he hooked up with myself, and I took him into the bushfires, which was pretty devastating, as we all know.
We talked to him on Nightline one night.
Yes, we did, and so I actually went over there to help do some fundraising for him on his open day that he has every year, and 2 days before I left to go over, I got a message saying he'd cancelled because of the amount of rain that he had, and these property surrounding his property where all the cars park in the paddock was all underwater. So if he had everybody arriving, he would have had 2,000 cars being towed out by tractors.
Hey, that happens at the MCG car park most weekends.
So, but I got to see him and catch up with him, which was good, and his crew over there. They do amazing work, as all the different wildlife people throughout the world. But one thing that stuck in my mind while I went through England and up to Scotland, went through Holland and Germany to Paris, down to Venice and Rome, was the lack of animals that I got to see, the lack of birds and the wildlife that are around. You know, we are so lucky here in Australia to have the variety of wildlife, and Australia's only 200 years old. The rest of the world is many thousands of years old, and I think at the rate that we're going with extinction of animals in Australia, that we're heading the same way as what Europe is. I mean, in 200 years, Australia has the world record for extinction of animals. 54 different animals have become extinct, and there's a lot more that is on that list. I mean, my son's kids, when he grows up and has kids, I'm sure they're not going to be seeing a lot of the animals that we're seeing.
Well, I've seen a decline where I live. I've seen a huge decline in bird life over the last 15, 17 years.
Yes.
Well, you might have, and yet where I live, the increase in galahs, rainbow lorikeets, magpies is amazing in the suburbs.
I know why at your place, Phil.
Because of the sunflower seeds.
The amount of food that Phil's got in his yard. The
sugared water and the grevillea and the bottle brush.
That's what we should be planting those trees to help attract birds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should.
For sure. I mean, you don't need to go to Currumbin Sanctuary to see lorikeets. I think Philip should be selling tickets at his front door.
Nigel, great to see you again. And now we're back into the summer series. We'll be seeing you very regularly.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it, everybody.
What's the difference between a female and a male magpie?
It's the colours on the back. A male magpie has white down his back, and the female has grey down her back.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.
There you go.
Remember that one.
Everybody knows that now.
I know how to sex a magpie.
Yeah, but he's a magpie, one-eyed fanatic come the weekend.
Yes. Who says magpies never perform in September? Well, every September they perform for me, that's for sure.
Good night, Nigel.
Good night.
Okay, let's